Good evening, everyone. I believe we're on the 16th episode of The Priest Legacy for Cultist Simulator, playing as Harold Davidson. Now we got through sort of our upgrades for our various skills, and then we, if I recall correctly, we've also exhausted Oriflammes. Now that's going to mean that we have a bunch of books that we need to work through. So the ones that are straightforward for us to go through would be the works that we've already translated, followed by reading Kerner and Goethe to be able to translate the remaining two. And then at that point we want to be considering some vaults, which I will ultimately gain with the by seeking out the secret histories. Now I also recall that we had an exaltation. I don't remember, however, whether or not we had any notoriety. We do not. So there's a small danger that in 7.2 seconds we are going to give the Suppression Bureau something to pick up, but we might get lucky and just have some extra funds as well. So moving forward, we're going to continue to bring some more people into the Church of the Bright Edge. That's going to be Valsine, well basically I'd say Valsine and then to the right. So Valsine, Dorothy, Leo, we've already got a few. Oh no, actually sorry, it's Valsine, Eau Claire, Rhaenyra, Rose, and Victor. And then of course we can also bring in some of the lessers, but obviously the hangers-on aren't quite as important for us. Now, I do have an open study verb, and I'm wondering if I left that aside for anything. I think I was just waiting to read one of the works. If I recall correctly, I didn't want to split the reading of the title. So, The Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 1, A Feast, the first volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is a later English translation. The illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. So, 1 minute there. Again, I'm mostly interested in what happens with the exaltation. I'm hoping we don't get the notoriety because I don't want to create a bunch of more mystique. Nope, but we did. So this is actually fairly dangerous for us. I should probably do a painting with that notoriety, just so that I can try and sort of sneak away the attention again. Again, a tremendous shame, but that's kind of the consequence of me trying to get some cash. So our devotion has drawn comment. We should be fine though. Before they speak the words, the novice must sharpen a knife so it can separate a drifting thread, and it be not sharp enough, it will be the worse for them. So, Tristan dislikes distractions, Tristan likes results, and yes, we were correct in identifying them as a member or a Forge follower. Now, it is worth noting that what I want to be doing right now is generating mystique, so there's a few different options that I have for that. One possibility would be for me to try and find new followers. That would be talking about lore, and I know I'm not going to find any new followers, but that is going to generate a mystique. Another alternative would be to try and finish some commissions. Now, unfortunately, all of the commissions are very substantial, so they'll require level 6, and you can only complete the commissions through... you can only complete the commissions through lore. So I do have the option of working with... Dr. Adim's commission for the secret histories. The rest of it I don't have the lore for yet. Now the drawback here is that that'll take away my painting verb, which is going to be one of the best ways for me to generate mystique. So I'm going to do a little bit of fancy footwork here. It's not at all beneficial to me to waste a whole bunch of time with talk, other than the fact that it's going to generate some mystique at a time that I really need it. So we will discuss the occult scrap. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. And again, the threat of evidence isn't as high, but so far we've been able to give the Suppression Bureau the slip, so let's see if we can do that one more time. And of course, the good news is that I'm going to be doing fewer services, and so as a consequence, I don't need to worry as much about about generating the notoriety that way. This place merits closer investigation. And the sick room grows close and stale. It is time to get up. Okay, so let's think about our explore verb. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I could do that would help me out mystique-wise with the exploration. I don't really think so, so let's add some more vaults. There are places in the city where I can find extraordinary things, if I can sift through the clues out of history and rumor. And then I suppose the next question would be, is there anything that I want to do with the dream slot now that I have I've cured my sickness? And in this case, I think just continuing to go through the white door and trying to get some higher level secret histories is good. It is worth remembering that we do have a season of visions coming up in 45 seconds, so this may come to bite me. But you know, we'll give it a shot. We've got a fleeting reminiscence that we can use to blunt the effect. So, in my dreams, I know the path through the white door through the bounds, but that path is thronged with the dead that pass that way. I will need health to resist their chill. Okay, let's see what happens with the service. Now, I will use the notoriety in the painting just so that I can kind of get the most out of all of it. Sorry, I should have read that text. I'm going to do something a little tricky here, though. So I want to have at least one reputation sort of to stick around. So we're going to run the investigation for as long as we can. This basically is a 1 in 4 chance of the notoriety being picked up, which makes me a little uncomfortable. So we're going to take the open soul. In fact, what I'll do here, I'm going to preserve... So the drawback here is this isn't going to generate as much mystique as it otherwise could, but we'll throw 1 passion at it here. So we know that the mystique that was going to expire in 52 seconds will go away. Now there's a benefit to me using the fleeting reminiscence here, because that's going to extend its life. And of course we want that because we will potentially be generating some fascination when we go through the white door. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the mantis. So I can't remember, I think I read this before, but the illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. We must devour to be devoured. We cannot be undevoured as we cannot be unborn. Alright, so we have another red secret. Some words are spelt correctly only when the proper ink is used. Now if I have to, I can upgrade this lore, but clearly it's better for me to just read the available works because it takes less time. So in this case, we'll read the second volume of the Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 2, A Birth. The second volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is a later English translation. Flood, or pseudo-Flood, suggests alignments between the alchemical tradition of Rubidoux and the older Grail traditions, through the Pine Knight's quest for the Cinnabar Cup. Alright, this is fairly reputation-based, so I don't mind putting 1 funds towards it, but I want to be a little careful on this. I do already have a staleness, and this wasn't really intended as something that would be like income generating. Okay, so I've got a restlessness if I think I'm going to do another painting, and I am actually mildly tempted to do another painting, but let's try the Lodge of the Sage Knight again. Okay, so it's a shame we didn't get the lore, but a favor from authority, you know, it is what it is. I've learned something that will earn me a favor once only. Last night I dreamt of the blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the Bounds. I listened to the mistress of this place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally. She snorts derisively. After what they tried to do to Christopher. But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. Okay, once again we'll go back through the white door. We've gotten a little unlucky in terms of getting the Forgotten Chronicles, but I have the 1, so that's already going to help me. We have also found the Congregation of St. Felix of Shuren. So we will investigate another occult scrap, and we'll see what happened with the painting. A day's work I have not shirked. Finished. This is work I can be proud of. With enough publicity, it will sell. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Okay, so I've got contentment. Not the most important for me right now. We did a decent job of generating some glimmering, but did I generate any reputation that I can use? No, I'm actually arguably in a more dangerous spot than I was before. So, wow, that's a lot of that's a lot of staleness. Okay, so I'm going to take a slightly different approach here. So we're going to throw as much passion as we can. I am going to add the notoriety. Again, we'll run out the clock where we can. And I will use erudition as my inspiration this time. So this also carries with it a risk of fascination, but I gotta work with what I've been given. Seek the cup in the birthing bed, the Pine Knight is told. The midwife at the birthing bed, to his amazement, is the Mountain Mother. In a fit of awe, he both gelds and flays himself. The vigilant storm bursts joyfully from the remains. And we've got our our next highest Grail lore, the Megalesian incantation, the Great Mother remembers. So still not enough for our commission. Again, that's a level 6. But we're technically, if we upgraded the Red Secret and then used the second Megalesian incantation, we could get a level 6 Grail. Alright, we'll move on to Deoris, an occasionally coherent catalog of the secret gods. This is an English translation of a volume dealing with the powers of the wood. This volume deals mostly with the hours of the wood, the moth, the black flax, the ring yew, among others. Okay, I could choose to spend money, but at this point I don't really think there's much hope of, I think there's a whole lot of hope of generating cash out of this, so. We've got another Mystique. Again, not a lot for me to work with, but we'll do our best. I'm debating about whether or not I want to try and do another occult scrap, because more passion for the Mystique generation would not go amiss right now. I really don't know how to feel about this, but let's bring Velsine in. So Velsine has operated her establishment for almost 20 years. She has never employed an assistant. Her hands are terribly strong. And we will recruit with the Knife Secret. This one is ready. The mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm saying if that means anything. Okay, we're not ready for Furtive Truths. We want to go higher, so let's try the Orchard of Lights. Well, we dodged the fascination, but... Pulsing airs, a rising power, a reassuring energy. The hours have been called unmerciful, but they permit sleepers sometimes to walk in the Orchard of Lights, where fruit grows like a sunset. Sorry, where each fruit glows like a sunset, where the roots of the trees are shaped for peaceful rest, where the mist soothes the heart. I was there last night, and the taste of the fruit lingers, sharp and sweet as the passage of spring to summer. And we have got Strathcoin's residence. I believe this is one that has guardians, but it's been a while. We'll explore again. And the world goes away. Something special, it may provoke a reaction. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. Okay, so contentment, again, not the most important thing for me right now, but never a bad thing to have. We did generate another Mystique out of that, which is nice, but definitely not the kind of attention I'm looking to generate. So, I mean, I'm really just going to be chipping away 4 seconds on this. I've got 2 Mystique and 2 Passion that I can throw at this, but I'm definitely running into some challenges as far as getting sort of the reputation that I need. So, before they speak the words, the novice must sharpen a knife so it can separate a drifting thread, and it be not sharp enough, it will be the worse for them. Delcine's ingenuities are endless, and her grip is stronger than a blacksmith's. Okay, so I'm not quite ready to... Actually, in this case, I can talk about an occult scrap, so I am going to try and push... things ahead as far as the... as far as the mystique is concerned. I'm going to do something a little unusual here. I'm going to take the notoriety and 2 mystique here in a painting, and that's more about preserving the reputation that I have, although I suspect it will I'll have some staleness consequences for it. But as always, I'm just going to try and creep out a little time on the notoriety. Okay. And this one we will use the favor from authority as a... No, I'll use my contentment as an inspiration. This should have an impact. I have a feeling I'm sort of on a path that's going to result in just less overall mystique, but I'll do my best. The glory is a question, and the moth always answers yes. The black flax's answer is no, and that is always the answer. Sorry, is always its answer. So we've got the barber's warning, which we had before, but I'm not going to complain about getting more lore in general. Finally, we can do Stum. Now... We don't have a season of despair coming up. This contentment's not really going to last long enough for me to be able to get to remove the dread, but we're in a decent enough place to get it done now, and I think because I'm going to be using at least 3 passion in a painting, I think now's not a bad time for us to run with it. There is the possibility that we'll have a season of dread come up, which... You know, that's a pity, but I think we'll give this a shot. A can of nitrate film labeled Stum, silent or perhaps mute. The director's name, Yernik Krossa, is shakily appended. The film rattles through the projector, glows silently on the wall. It is a story of a foolish student of forbidden sciences who recruits a dancer to entice the dead back into the world through a flaw in its skin. It's a fiction, but here on the title card is laid out the operation of the declining sun. So, we're definitely going into one of the more dangerous phases right now, but let's see how we handle it. I don't think I'm going to spend the funds. In this case, we'll just see what the default values give us. Alright, so 19 seconds before we can do a more passion-built painting. Generally, we're fine. But I do want to sort of knock down the time on the notoriety if I can. All right, we've got Cater in here limited, so I think there's just one more occult scrap for us to check out, and then it's really just a matter of clearing out the investigation before we start handling these. Okay, so unfortunately we do have a season of despair coming up. There are some things that I can do to try and generate contentment, but in this particular case, I'm just going to stay the course, and we'll see if we can get some contentment out of painting. Okay, nothing we could really get there. So, in last night's stream, I was in the lodge of the Sage Knight behind the white door. It was difficult to remember exactly how I came there, and the mistress of this place, the woman with the dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I lost my speech when I passed the white door. How is it that I can speak? She said to me. I didn't come here through the white door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here, so let me tell you about something else. Okay, we got the Course of the Heart, which, you know, if we had a season of sickness coming up, that would be helpful, but right now that doesn't really give us a whole lot. My recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. So normally this would be good. Unfortunately, this is not quite early enough for us for our oh, sorry, it was 4 skill and then 4 stale. Now we've got 4 staleness. Yeah, so I'm a bit worried. Like, this contentment normally would help us, but we've got 18 seconds before. Oh, actually, hang on, I misjudged. Yes, so we will have contentment to deal with the dread. So that means that I leave the study, sorry, the dream verb open for a little bit. So we're going to wait on the investigation for a little bit. So again, it's still a 1 in 4 chance, which I don't quite like the odds of. So we're going to take 3 passion here. I'm going to add the notoriety just so that I can have it snuck away. And let's take one of the contentment here to, this one's the 50.7, 55.2. We can take the, preserve the longer one. This should have an impact. See if with the passion, I'm not really worried about getting rid of the staleness, but definitely if we can get a lot of mystique as a result of working with this, I want to take the opportunity. The right is depicted in chilling detail. Here is the flaw in the right is depicted in chilling detail. Here is the flaw in the world, an influence shimmering in luminous paint. Here is the dancer establishing an irresistible rhythm. Here the scholar recites the operation, and now the misty dead whirls through the flaw to consume him. The film closes on the dancer's watchful eyes. Had she intended it all from the start? So, Operation of the Declining Sun. This invokes, acknowledges, and welcomes the passage to silence. So this is a level 6 winter influence. Again, it's not the type that we need for, not the type that we necessarily need for our commissions, but it's more than what we've normally worked with. It is also important that it's the sunset right. So this is, I believe, one of the rights where it uses an influence. And again, just to be clear, my tendency on this is just, you know, the sort of quirks that gamers do tend to have when they play games. In particular, my reluctance to give up sort of things that don't have a timer. So I realize there's not a lot of overlap between, say, you know, people who play Destiny or the new imaginings of Doom. I like them, but I can understand why people would not necessarily want to, you know, why that might be an unfamiliar example for some viewers. But in those games where you would normally think of grenades as a consumable item, the difficulty is that you always keep picking them up and hoarding them. And at least for me, and I think this is true for a lot of people, you're just waiting for the big challenge where you might take advantage of it. And of course, each individual situation, you're like, well, you know, what if something even bigger is coming after me? And so you essentially, you know, take on the final boss, assuming that there's going to be something bigger that you need to handle, and you'll have, you know, 600 in your pockets just being unused. And I'm like that with lore. I'm like that with ingredients. There's a lot of things in Cultist Simulator that I'm very reluctant to part with, even if I have lots of them. But influence, because it is always on a timer, I'm much more inclined to using that as the destructible component in most of the rituals. And so as a consequence of that, the Sunset Rite, and then I can never remember the other one, but it's the pink one with the map on it. In any case, both of those use influence as an input. So anything from, you know, fascination, which admittedly I don't normally use as an input to those rituals, but definitely the influences that I get from the trips to the Mansis will help, help me get things done. I'm going to try and be a little bit better on that in this playthrough, but in general I do tend to find that I use the Sunset Rite quite a bit, at least until I get the other one. The assistant must cry tears of genuine emotion, which are asperged in the place where the influence lies. If all is done well, the sun and rags will consume the influence, acknowledging an ending, and lend its assistance. Okay. So I do want to get rid of this dread as quickly as possible, so we will dream of the dread, and we will... I remember that I was different, but I can't quite remember how. I remember that I was different before, so contentment will help us there. And we finished all of our either English language or our translated books. So we will read Körner und Gurt. Körner und Gurt ausführlich Grammatik der Griechischen Sprache, I think. A Greek grammar, an essential weapon for a ferocious struggle with a challenging language. Of course, I have a little Greek already, but I'll need more than a little. And we'll use that to translate 2 works. Whenever the principle of heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. So we won't spend money on the paints. And a Season of Ambitions is coming up next, so in that case I can use the Restlessness as an input for the painting. Alright, so we have now got the Forsaken Reach. That's the indication. It tells you in the game you found all the expeditions in the capital, although you can find and visit the Reach several times. So if you, the big indicator for me is that this isn't a unique card, whereas Cater and Hero and the other locations are. The game will tell you, but you can also tell just because of sort of the bluish gradient on the card. So for instance, the white door, if for whatever reason a second white door were to appear on the table, one of them would go away. I do find it a little interesting that these followers are not unique. So in theory, it would actually be possible to have more than one Eldridge on the table. I don't believe that's ever possible. I think they are removed from the various decks that they get taken from. But I'm mildly curious about the implication of this, because of course Jannings, Adim, Bichet, Lascelles, and Sulachana Amavasaya, I think is the pronunciation. You know, all of these are not unique, or all of these are unique, but the followers aren't. I don't think there's an implication to be taken from that, but you never know. Again, when I'm talking about implications, the sharp-eyed among you, this is kind of common knowledge now, I think, but you'll notice that Jannings is mortal, as is Madame Bichet. Dr. Adim is not. You will also notice Sulachana isn't. So there's little details that you can pick up in sort of like when you look at the features of the cards, but I've never quite been able to make a whole lot of sense of uniqueness as something sort of telling you something about the individual. And in this case here, it's just because all of the followers are not unique. It's, you know, I just don't see, how can I put it? Like I don't really see what information I gain from pointing out that they're not unique. Okay, Furtive Truth. A detail smuggled in from an adjacent narrative. Don't speak this where you may be overheard. Odd nooks remain in the quiet countryside, here and there, for those who know where to look. Now, for those of you who are coming off of some of my earlier playthroughs, you may be wondering why I'm putting so many, particularly the last playthrough that we did, you may be wondering why I'm stacking up so many expeditions on the board. This is because I don't have a lot of, or I don't have rivals on the board right now. So there's nobody who can sort of steal these locations away from me. I didn't put a lot of locations on the board in the previous run because I was worried that somebody might sort of take the location away. And so it's really just a question of the circumstances I find myself in. If I were to have a rival, I would certainly, you know, return to the priority of making sure that that we didn't. I would make sure that we didn't give up. We wouldn't give the opportunity to explore as many. Right, a case of mistaken identity. This isn't who you'd hoped for, after all. They're no one of particular importance, and eventually they'll pass from your memory. Perhaps there is no one else available that you'd care to meet. Okay, so. Again, we're getting the mystique wherever we can. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain, so... Again, the glimmerings are just nice side effects. Nothing to get too excited about. Feeling a little bit better about my mystique here, so... I'm a little nervous to do this, but at some point I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to kind of run the risk. So this is a die roll, right? Like, essentially I'm saying is like, do I roll a 1? But I'm going to go for it. It's a dramatic way to end the, end the session. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and generate some additional mystique through my commission. So I need the right lore, and I need to dedicate my abilities to the work. Well, we do have a rarefied mind, and so we will write an extensive treatise on the secret histories. Dr. Ibn al-Adim, called the Alapine, has offered you a commission. He's looking for particularly obscure information on the secret histories of the world. And I think just to try and push things to our advantage, we'll speak of esoteric matters one more time. Talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that's what I want. All right, I think we'll leave it there. Yeah, it's a cliffhanger. We'll find out how it turns out in the next episode. As always, thank you very much for watching. I'll just briefly address something somebody mentioned about the comments. I do always appreciate them, and certainly this is not the bad time to say if you are enjoying the series or this video in particular. Please do consider leaving a like or subscribing if you've not already, and I do appreciate the comments. And again, it does go... I am conscious as a viewer. I don't usually leave a lot of comments on the stuff that I watch. And I think some of you may be feeling a certain sense of obligation to leave them. So number one, let me just say, they make me feel great to see them. And I really appreciate them. And if you like leaving comments and if you like the interaction, please feel free to do so. Even if you haven't done it before, it really does help. But I also just maybe wanted to address, I never want people to feel badgered about it. I can definitely tell you that the call to action at the end helps. It does generate, like, the videos tend to do better with that sort of interaction. But if you feel like you are being pressured to do something you don't want to do, please do not feel obligated to say everything on the videos. I try to respond where I can, and I appreciate it immensely. But I also want to make sure that I'm not asking too much of people. So again, please let me express that appreciation, and don't let me discourage you from doing that. But it's also important to to give back a little bit, and well, sorry, give back's the wrong term, but just to make sure that people are not feeling imposed upon. But one way or another, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow in the next one.